Okay, so last week we talked about only two rules of composition. Who remembers what both rules of composition were? We're going to talk about 12 over the course of 6 weeks. I'm going to give you 2 a week and ask you to remember 2 things. Well, the color wheel we talked about too. Susie? One of the things was variety, to have a lot of variety, and we're going to use that tonight in our paintings. The other one, the first rule is?
Break the rules.
Break the rules, right. There is an exception to every rule, okay? So the first rule is exception to every rule. The second is think about variety of color, variety of shape, variety of line, variety of direction. And you'll see me using some of that tonight. Now I have, is this projecting okay? Can you guys see that screen? I can't see it very well. I'm glad you can see it. It's more important that you see it than me. Because I'm going to do a demonstration to get started and then turn you loose. Probably the most important part of almost all paintings is the drawing. It's sort of like the skeleton of the painting is the drawing underneath. Now, people think of flowers and they usually see that daisy shape and a vase. I'm going to ask you to think like Georgia O'Keeffe in these 2 pictures up here. These are by the famous artist Georgia O'Keeffe, who does florals. Well, she did florals. She's gone now. She lived to be about 101, I think. But she would crop in. So rule number 3 of composition is crop. Okay? And you're going to see, well, with here, you can just see how she kind of zoomed in or cropped on those poppies. And then she cropped or zoomed in on that iris. And it's going to make your painting a lot more dynamic if you zoom in. Okay, so for you guys just arriving, the rules for tonight are cropping, zoom in, and dominance. We're going to let one thing or more, or just 1 or 2 things dominate your composition. So I'm going to do these orchids, and I'm cropping in just this little section right here. You don't want an isolated little vase right in the center of a great big piece of paper, because that would be very boring. Zoom in like Georgia O'Keeffe. Okay, so crop your drawing when you do it, and sort of like this one here, you can see how I cropped in on those irises, and then the shapes really dominate this one, and also the color purple is going to dominate. I've decided ahead of time. We talked a lot about color last time. I have my little handy color wheel here. I'm going to suggest to you that you might want to pick a complementary color scheme tonight. I deliberately have almost only white flowers. There's predominance of white. Jim, if you want to use those white flowers behind you, you can. Those are not going to be used tonight, so however you want to choose your flowers. There's still one in the middle. If anybody doesn't like what you've got and you want to switch, you can do that. But the white flowers, so you can paint them any color you want, okay? But I'm going to start with the background. That's called negative space. And I'm going to paint around the flowers. So the first thing you're going to do is draw them, zooming in or cropping, and then I'm going to show you how it's going to come together real quickly by me starting painting the background, okay, or the negative space of the picture. And then the last thing I'll do will be to put a little bit of colors into the flowers in the stems. Does that make sense? By the way, stop me if you get confused or if we go too fast, but tonight should be a little more relaxed than last time. Before we go on though, I need to know how many people are going to paint this glass with me next week, or if you don't raise your hand if you've already got something in mind. How many people want to paint this one next week? 1. You got something in mind. Jim, what about you two? Okay. This is Chris's. Do you guys, did you choose something to paint for next week? So you're good? Okay. And
do that.
you're going to do this one? Okay. Do you have your name card?
I think it's probably still in the cupboard.
Faith and
Aaron and
Elena. There's some cards over here on the counter. Oh, I see Elena's name, got her name right on the jug. Oh, Aaron, very good. Perfect. Okay, so you don't even need to bother with those. And Shelly back there. Shelly, do you need to paint this? Okay, Mary?
I may. I don't have one yet. So.
Okay, this is the one that we're looking at. Turn it around here. Okay, this is what we're going to paint next week, the glass, unless you bring in your bottles that you're going to paint. So I'm going to say we need 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably 10 copies should do. And then I think we'll have enough for next week. Oh, Doug will bring his own thing. What, Jim?
One more for me, because my bottles aren't, I have bottles.
Okay. Yeah, the clear bottles will probably maybe be more fun, hopefully, than something that's opaque, just because it's going to look more like glass to begin with. Okay. So, choose your color scheme, and I'm going to do, like I said, this complementary or the opposite of yellow and purple. If you want to do a red-green color scheme, those are opposites. Blue-orange, opposites. We've got this vermilion across from Viridian. That would make a nice combination, however you want to choose. You don't have to do those complementary colors. It's just a suggestion. Okay, but I'm going to do the yellow-purple because that's my favorite complementary color pair. And so you will, again, begin with your drawing, and then wherever you want the most contrast, you're going to use a real intense color to start, and I'm going to dive right into my purples and paint the background. Really strong contrast there. And I'm going to have a real strong contrast here. Did you have a question?
We don't have pencils.
Oh.
Some.
Amy will be back in a minute. You probably might want to watch for a minute first anyway. Now, while I still have this sloppy wet paint, when I get enough of it out, I'm going to sprinkle some salt in, like we did last week. And again, the paint has to be really sloppy wet for it to work. So I'm gonna just get this going a little bit. You guys can see this okay? And controlled salt spill by putting it into my hand so that I don't get too much.
Basically, you're doing the negative space.
The negative space, exactly. The space around things. The shapes. And then where I put the salt, I don't want to mess with it again because that would be like stirring my half-baked cake. Amy, they don't have pencils. So I'm going to, while you guys work on your drawing, I'm going to continue to paint in my negative space, alternating with a little bit of salt and spray. From time to time, I'm just going to spray with my little spray bottle here. I'll just go whoop, like that, and that will give some cool watermarks and make it look interesting. Okay, questions?
We're drawing this ourselves?
You are drawing this yourselves. Yep, and that is the most challenging but also kind of the most fun part. Okay, so again, crop in. Don't do an isolated vase in the middle of your paper. Really zoom in like the Georgia O'Keeffe pictures that I brought in for you to see. You guys who are watching this at home, you can look up Georgia O'Keeffe and just kind of see what she's all about.
When
Put
you're
a
done
little
today,
salt.
you can just put your pencils back in here on the way out.
Yeah, don't forget to leave the pencils so we have them for next time, guys. Okay, let's see. This is dark over here. Sometimes it can be hard to remember which parts are the negative space. But by establishing your darkest darks first, it kind of gives you the range so you know where you're going with everything. And I've got the sun right in my face here, but that's okay. It'll be challenging. Okay. Okay, so if you guys want to go ahead and start on your drawing, crop in and think about dominance. One color dominating or one shape dominating. There, you can see what that salt did right away. That's going to be nice there, I think. Purple generally crystallizes really well.
Gail, would you like me to move your table so the sun is not in your face?
No, I'm good, Amy. Thank you, though. It makes me happy, you know. I like the sun, so. And I've blocked the painting so that the sun is not going to interfere with the painting. Notice my place of greatest contrast is this little spot right here, which is not exactly in the center of the page, but it's not way out to an edge either. It's kind of in an interesting place. Putting a little salt in from time to time. Now, notice I am not painting my background solid. I'm leaving little spots of white here and there. That just kind of makes for a more interesting painting. Sounded like my alarm. So my purple is really dominating my picture. Got a little purple where I didn't exactly want it in this bud, but that's called a happy accident, so we'll go with that. Something good will come from it, I'm sure. Sprinkle a little salt here and there.
If anybody needs salt or anything, let me know.
Yeah, I have my salt shaker here too, which I'm not gonna use anymore. Does any table want salt? I'll bring it over to you.
Not recommended.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I cheated. I had my drawing done ahead of time. Very nice. That was very good.
Should I just do color then, or should I start with
If it were mine, I would probably have at it. I'd probably dive right in and start painting. But it's up to you. If you think it needs more, you could maybe put one more really big. You could repeat this blossom, but put it big right there. But yeah, however you want to. Whenever you feel ready, go ahead. Oh, that's pretty. You got some good job. And I'm gonna stand and out for you so I can see.
I tried it with kosher salt.
Oh, you know, that was good.
Really?
Yeah.
You did? Gail is like.
Yeah. Homework. Homework. Matt? Nice drawing, Tim. Hate negative things. You sort of fooled me. Oh, good. You know, I do like that Coca-Cola owl, but it would be hard.
Yeah, just like.
Ooh, that genie owl is sweet. Yeah. It's up to you, Tim. Either one of those. Dang, you did it already. Wow, I have to show everybody. If you don't mind. We're doing glass next time, and I want to show you Jim's glass piece. He did homework. Isn't that cool? It's his genie bottle. Very nice, Jim. Is this Payne's gray that you were using around here?
Yeah, this is the gray. Well, actually black, and I just diluted the heck out of it.
Okay.
And then I went for blue and blue green. I never thought we'd hot colors.
That's a nice painting. You'd be very pleased with that.
But those are the bottles I think that were the Coke bottle. And after doing this bottle, the genie bottle, I just thinking twice about it.
Yeah, I think all the lettering might drive
Yeah.
you a little crazy.
That's what I was thinking.
That.
The lettering.
Sorry. Okay, Rowan, that's good to begin with, but I'm gonna ask you to try to really zoom in on a flower for your next one, okay? Okay.
Well, I feel like I could make this a little bigger too.
Yeah, and copy the shapes that you see in the flower, Rowan. Copy the shapes, just get into some detail and try to copy what you see. I'm gonna get you another paper.
Here's one here I'm not using.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Very nice.
I don't have any salt.
See if you have any,
I'm gonna need some more, like kosher salt.
Remember, every time you go through the fast food restaurant, ask them for some extra salt.
One of the things, yeah, I always find important is seeing what the color is gonna be before I put it on paper.
Yes.
And this is from last night.
Oh, cool.
The black was really, really black when I started. But I wanted to see how it mixed together as well.
Yeah, it's a nice test strip, you know, hold it up and show everybody.
It is.
Same as scrap, if you do anything you don't like, you can use the back side, and then you got something to test your colors out on. Okay? Yeah. And I am trying to let my background dry a little bit, but you know what, I'm going to, just for the sake of time, I'm going to start putting a little bit of color in, and it doesn't really matter which color you go to next. I'm probably going to put in my midtones, which are the centers of the flowers and the leaves, and see how that shapes up. And where that leaf burst out into the background, I'm okay with that. And that's just kind of, but I can also use my Q-tip and lift a little bit of it up. Yeah. One of the things that we haven't talked about yet, but that's kind of important, is the white of the paper. In watercolor, having some white paper showing is always a good thing. And that's why I'm going to leave most of these flowers will be primarily white, but I've got little sparklers of white in the background. You can see right here and right here. Just little bits. Okay, I've got all my greens in. I'm gonna, well, no, I'll put a little bit of green in the petals just for interest, like a shadow kind of thing.
there some sort of a way you can tell how much paint is good for the salt?
You just have to experiment, and you get the hang of it after you play around with it enough. But different colors tend to work a little bit differently. I know but pretty much consistently with all of them, the wetter, the sloppier of a puddle you have, the better. Salt. Pardon?
I think I brought the wrong salt.
Oh, if the salt is not fresh or not super dry, it doesn't work.
Kosher salt,
Kosher salt usually works good.
big chunks.
Hmm.
That really fine stuff like McDonald's.
I like kosher salt because it gives nice sparkle usually, but again, it might be how dry it is or isn't, and there's so many uncontrolled with the salt thing. You have not only the dryness of the salt, but the relative humidity in the room. I'm going to put in some of the reds in the centers of my flowers too.
I have a question. So when, like, I'm doing this yellow, do you work light to dark or dark to light?
I usually try to put my darkest darks in first so that then I've got the whole range.
Right.
But there's not a right way.
Okay.
It's just, I would suggest get some darks in right away. Then you know how if it doesn't turn out as dark as you would like it to be, you know that right from the start, so you don't have to build up the whole picture again. Notice I'm holding my brush quite far back. You don't want to be too tight on the brush. Oh, I see where I forgot some green up there. And it bled into my flower, which I kind of like. It's going to give me a nice watermark.
I have to change my salt.
And
He's not gonna be back? Oh, shoot.
Yeah, you're in the
Wow, nice contrast. I like that dark purple.
Oh, thanks. It's like almost black in there.
Yeah, yeah, that's gonna make for a very bold painting. Now, when you do your stems,
Mhm.
you probably want to either get a darker green than this, or a reddish green. I mean, green, we're talking a little redder so that it stands out from the background.
So, I use this hooker's green, and
Uh-huh.
the rest of these feel a little unnatural to me.
You could mix those two together, or you could just take that and add a little bit of red to it. Yeah. When you add the complement, it will make it more brownish.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Ooh, look at that. That's very cool. That's cool. I'm hoping you're gonna put a little bit of yellow in somewhere. Maybe just, you can go right over top of some of the green with some yellow, or you don't have to if you don't want to. Wow, you're done already. That's
Well,
beautiful.
it's like 7-year-old in our class.
No, it's beautiful.
I was going to put one up there, but then missed the mark.
Well, there's more paper, you can go grab another sheet and start a second one. That's really pretty. What are you gonna do for your background? You gonna leave it white, or?
I don't know, what do you think? It's just this.
You could do a little bit of blue for contrast, like pale, like the cerulean blue, which I think is this right here.
Yeah.
Oh, right there. Okay. Or you could leave it white. It's just really your call. Now, you don't want to lift it up while the salt is doing its thing, so. Oh, so pretty.
I did not know what to do with these roses.
They look nice. Squint at it and see where you see the darks, and that's where you're gonna want to put in some yellowish, yellow green maybe. Yeah. Yeah, just where when you squint, see the shadows. That's really soft. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, it might be nice if you had just a little bit of that red somewhere else, and then just so the dry kind of pops around your picture. But that's really pretty. Is that the rose? Whatever it is, it's pretty. Your salt is working nice for you too.
Yeah, I love that.
That's cool.
So would you do like more paints in this, or would you use
Oh, no one.
I like the pink, and I would probably go crazy with pink, but it's a real soft picture, so don't overdo it. Like I would probably tend to overdo it. So yeah, just keep it a gentle touch. Ooh, you are really experimenting. Look at this lovely salt. That worked out nicely in there.
Yeah, I was really good, like I was.
Cool.
Figure yourself in.
Turn some of the way.
They look like stars. That's cool.
Let's get you back on.
Yeah. It's a nice memory of paintings.
Like in the little cup.
Don't black in traditional watercolor.
Thanks for that.
See that?
Little kid. It's cute. Did it?
It's got battery and it comes with it. It's cool.
Well,
Yeah.
push and make mistakes.
Yeah,
Lovely, Jeff. We're getting more than I need from the salt will take.
Yeah.
The salt will take a little bit.
Right. One thing I didn't explain to you guys ahead of time, because you can only pile so much information in between your ears, but it's that watercolor always dries lighter, so you want to go a little bit darker than you think you're going to want it. Ooh, that's a big reaction. Ooh, this turned out really nice. I like that.
Yeah, I like the yellow one.
Yeah.
Do I have it?
You will in a minute.
Well, I think
I think you gave it to me. I think you put it on there. That's not
and it tells you how to draw it.
Pretty.
where is it at?
Here, how about I send you
Where is it gonna be in there? Text? Oops, sorry.
Just crack kids, just like take, I'll take the make kids.
Oh.
It's a good idea when you paint to get up and move around and look at what everybody else is doing so that you come back to yours with a fresh eye. So if you wouldn't mind entertaining me, get up and take a look at everybody else's a minute and then come back to what you're doing.
I thought you were sharing some books.
Yes.
I brought the books to share.
Oh, okay.
Almost there. That's perfect.
Or just right here. Jim brought books to share, guys, if you want to take a look at them. This Watercolor Golden Free is my personal favorite, but watercolor for the absolute beginner, you don't need that, for sure. Are these, borrow it for a week or for? Okay,
My name and then just make it.
right. Yeah, so if anybody wants to take a look at these, you can borrow them for a week from Jim. You prefer James to Jim? Jim, okay.
I started this, I'm thinking that last.
Yeah, it's gonna make you be real tight and tense.
But I showed you a lot. But I also like contour
Yeah, you got some nice marks in there. Really? Yeah. So maybe you could just kind of leave
My
out,
sister goes there.
yeah, just kind of.
That's fine.
Solo part.
She loves it.
Because I really like the contour. That's what I like about the G.
Yeah, that's cool. What do you think you're
Right.
And also.
Nice, that's cool. Probably cute. It's not my stack one.
Yeah.
My first one, you do like a one made in color. Or ribbons, and then the other one I use
Black and white.
shreds.
That's a good idea.
And that's what I do with that one. And, is this that one?
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Good. No, it's, you softened it enough that it does not stand out, so.
The background, to the bottle, so you put the teeth in. And I had to try to get the color.
Uh-huh.
What time did you see after you had it all?
Yeah.
So I,
the first night after.
Friday night? Oh, okay.
Thursday.
but I, it's just not like.
When then you saw that yesterday?
Uh-huh.
And the contour, that was interesting. But
Wait,
I
my
did
cup?
something, I mean,
Three?
I haven't done that. But, yeah, I'm gonna try to keep
We
both
still
of them.
have
Did he know where he was going?
Yeah.
Trace it all out,
Oh.
and I set it aside to do this.
What did you do?
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah,
She's doing pretty good. She had her wax.
pretty. I like where you got these soft edges in there.
Saturday or something, because she was packing.
She's packing.
Yeah. We're supposed to sign off on the houses if we can move in.
Can you get anything?
We had it. Yes, she signed one more paper, and I was like, well, last paper.
This week, no, I guess for kids.
So we can do that.
So when did you move in this week?
This scratches the sign, it scratches off the paint, but it does.
Why didn't you just put my password on?
Color piece of paper.
No.
Different color, you know.
Why did I have no password?
And then you put black on it, over it. Scratch.
Yep, that's this.
That's it.
Me?
Yeah.
What did I do?
So you want me to write my name down somewhere or my?
How?
I would certainly hope so.
Put my name,
It's not a problem. You make a problem with her.
Yep, I see that, yeah.
put my name in
Mine
there.
is a big problem.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I'm definitely kind of old, so that's why I thought.
Oh, well, we go home, right?
Hey?
Thank you.
We can do this up first on, Friday. Wait. If you don't have meeting.
Yeah, I did too much salt.
She was a coach, don't worry.
Actually, it sure
Take some
takes.
pictures.
I did too much.
Oh yeah, it'd be a good night
Color
with all the
versus
color
too
in
wet,
it.
and it just started like. Yeah, it is kind of cool with all the culture. Yeah, and then the regular salt is so wet. Yeah, the this one I did too. I did bring a bigger thing though. I'm just waiting. I'm just kind of waiting. Crazy. But if you look at hers, you know, and she did really go in. But then, like I said, it all.
Making some really shades.
I thought it would look cool in birds and night blue. We saw our picture on Facebook too.
Yeah, oh, that's week, when you
Yes.
went to class?
I took a picture and I sent it to her. I texted her.
And I sat there like a dunce to the stuff.
She was paying attention. I was down.
Paying attention to work.
See, I didn't look that close at the picture, I was looking overall, you know, because it was the first class in this room. Yes, I'll have to look at it now. Was it bad? No, I was like.
It was funny, she was paying attention and I was like looking at it.
You're daydreaming as usual.
Take a picture of your cheeks.
Mine looks so white and
Not bad for a first time.
just put it in. I know.
I was trying to get it, work. Oh, yes, it's not too cold, but not too watery, it was, yeah.
Oh, that's black.
Good background. I like these on there.
What? Oh, just peel black.
Wow, nice. That's a big,
You know what?
yeah.
No, in fact,
Yeah, it holds
Whatever.
everything. It's in water.
Yeah.
I got them spray
Which that's
bottle.
what you have this for.
Oh, yeah.
But I got them
I don't
spray
think it's
bottle.
safe there.
Sample vacuum tips.
I'm ready.
What's that for, alcohol?
What I would do when I was doing the early summer morning paint, I would find a color that was just right. And then I wanted to paint for it. But I poured it in there so I can have it in color.
Right.
And the strips are,
There's a little fan page on one of our subs.
getting even close to
There's a fan page on one of our subs.
it's close to.
Like, yeah.
I had to put on coat it.
Literally, someone
How long
did.
has he been trying to concept that all?
He was there for like 2 weeks. But everybody likes, I got to know. He always let me play my box during Friday.
Well, I didn't notice that.
No, I didn't. See, that's what I like about him. I'm reading a lot of your little,
What's his name?
your
But it's safer and then come back later.
Yeah, it's not all dried out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was like Mr. O.
I'm like,
No, it wasn't Mr. O. It's the little one that's.
The tricky part is knowing when to quit. I think you're just about where I would stop. Unless you're gonna put any green in, I don't know if you're gonna put any. Yeah.
My class is pretty full enough though. Maybe.
We have about 10 minutes left, just to help you gauge where you're at with things.
Can you tell me your water? My water is.
Yes, new is the, well, when we started painting.
What? I missed the red. What is the red?
Red in my picture? It's just those little, kind of a beard in the inside of the orchid. You don't have that on here, no. Mine are, see, I'll show you. See those? Just makes a little fun face.
I know, I just got done running cases. I don't know how I always have to look at tomorrow. That's probably why I know my friends like me. See, I'm like, I can see that, and like, they don't though. There's a thing called modeling, especially the parents. There's my social, I know my social ed teacher hates me. I'm right in front, right by her desk. Either on because you're tall. I never said I couldn't blame her. I just said she didn't like me. Why does it matter about that? Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not to the point where you're gonna be finished in time, you can take a photograph of the flowers and finish up later, or just call it good.
It worked.
We can take this home with us.
Yeah, you know, you take it home and finish it. That's right.
That's what I want to do on the. Do you draw it on there also? No. You can draw it on the glass, yeah.
No.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Better keep practicing.
Okay.
I almost just got mine.
So next time we're supposed to bring anything we want to make, correct?
If you don't want to do that picture of what we like bottles, then yes, bring what you want.
Okay.
Mine's a base, is that okay? Or do you want another bottle?
The base and the bottom, the same thing.
I'll show you, I've got to have it.
Yeah, let me see. Oh, pretty. Wow. Bring that next time. Yeah. I like the colors.
Are we gonna do more of these next week? Here's one I did.
I have a whole thing right here, man.
Oh,
If you want to bring, you can, but.
I still have some of these that I didn't. Oh, you don't have to put them
Okay, next week, glass. Amy, should I stop this?
Push the same button.
The red. Yep. Yeah.
Click on this side.